The chamber was tense, thick with the weight of centuries-old alliances and new fractures. The Galactic Council, a sprawling assembly of over 100 different species, had gathered once again under the great dome of the Citadel, a structure that stretched beyond comprehension, designed to house the grandest of discussions. Above them, the shimmering lights of the distant stars reflected off the crystal surfaces of the building, but within, the only light came from the holographic screens scattered throughout the room. Admiral Alicia Thorne stood in the center of it all, the spotlight of the Council's scrutiny upon her. The humans had come this far. She had led her people through war, strife, and endless setbacks. But this negotiation, was a different beast. A battle for humanity's place among the stars, and the stakes could not be higher. The council table stood before her, a vast holographic display of galactic maps, planetary systems, and military projections. To her left, a familiar face, Ambassador Rook, the rogue human operative whose disdain for the Union had driven him to separate from the collective human effort. His face was a study of arrogance, his posture rigid as he scrutinized the room. To her right, Supreme Chancellor Thaler, a towering figure of the Krantar race, his multiple eyes glinting with an air of imperiousness. The Krantar had ruled vast sections of space for eons, and their species held a certain pride in their position, an unyielding belief that no one, especially humans, could stand on equal footing with them. Across the room, representatives from the Traller, Florixians, and Talaki were deep in murmurs. The Florixians had long been skeptical of humanity's impulsiveness, their advanced intellect dismissing the potential of a species that still seemed to stumble at every turn. The Traller, as usual, saw the humans as a threat to their dominance. And the Talaki, agile and calculating, observed with an air of detached interest. The tension in the air was palpable, as the moment for the final vote drew nearer. Humanity's potential membership in the Galactic Union was on the line. Would they be welcomed as equals or turned away, left to their own devices as Rook and his faction suggested? Would they join the ever-expanding Federation of Species, or would they stand alone, a rogue force against the vastness of space? Alicia cleared her throat, her voice steady despite the storm of thoughts whirling inside her. "It is clear," she began, "that we, humanity, stand at a crossroads. We have fought, bled, and evolved over centuries, forging our path through challenges and victories alike. Now we stand ready to join the Union, not to be subsumed by it, but to add our strength to it." Her words echoed in the chamber, a soft yet firm declaration. But as she spoke, she could feel Rook's gaze burning into her. The rogue operative shifted in his seat, his eyes narrowing. "Strength?" Rook's voice broke in, sharp and cutting. "Is that what you call it, Alicia? The Union represents conformity, subjugation. If you want to lead humanity to prosperity, you should be leading them away from these chains. The galaxy doesn't need another puppet of the Council, just another pawn in your endless game." Alicia's gaze never wavered. She had known this moment would come, knew Rook's words would be bitter and combative. He had always been a firebrand, a man who could not sit still when there was a fight to be had. She took a deep breath before answering. "Rook," she said, her voice still calm but carrying an undercurrent of steel, "what you fail to understand is that the Union does not limit us. It is an opportunity, a chance to grow, to evolve beyond the petty wars and divisions that have held us back for so long. The Union is not about subjugation, it's about collaboration." Rook scoffed, shaking his head. "You think these other species, these so-called allies, will ever see humanity as equals? The Krantar have their eye on our resources, the Florixians look down on our methods, and the Traller are just waiting for the right moment to strike. We are their tools, Alicia. Tools they'll use and discard when they've had their fill." The words stung, but Alicia held firm. She had heard them all before. "If we are tools, then it is because we have allowed ourselves to be. Humanity can stand on its own 2 feet, Rook. We've done it before. And if we need to stand against the galaxy to protect our future, then we will." A few murmurs ran through the room, the council members shifting uneasily in their seats. The tension between Rook and Alicia had always been there, but it was becoming sharper now, more dangerous. Both of them were speaking for humanity, but their visions were as different as night and day. Supreme Chancellor Thaler finally spoke, his voice deep and resonant, filled with the authority only a creature of his age could command. "Enough, humans," he growled, his multiple eyes blinking slowly as he regarded the two. "It is time for the Council to make its decision." Alicia looked around the room, her gaze sweeping over the faces of the assembled delegates. There was fear in their eyes, fear of humanity's unpredictability, fear of Rook's firebrand rhetoric, and fear of the unknown. And that fear was what she had to overcome. Not just for herself, but for every human who had ever struggled and fought to make their mark on the galaxy. "We are not the enemy, Thaler," she said firmly, her voice rising in intensity. "We are not here to destroy or disrupt the delicate balance you've built. We are here to add to it. We are here to be a part of something greater, to stand beside you as equals, not as threats. But that choice, that decision, lies with you all." For a moment, the room fell silent again. The only sound was the soft hum of the holographic displays around them, flickering with digital data, mapping out systems and galaxies. Alicia's words hung in the air like an unspoken challenge. Would they stand with humanity or against it? Rook shifted in his seat, ready to speak again, but Ambassador Lyra of the Talaki raised her hand, cutting him off. "I've listened to both sides," she said, her voice softer than the others, yet carrying its own weight. "And I have come to a decision. Humanity's potential for growth is undeniable. Yes, there are risks, yes, we have our doubts. But I believe you deserve a chance." A ripple of murmurs ran through the room, and even Rook seemed caught off guard. Alicia's heart raced. One vote. One voice in the sea of dissent had just tipped the balance in their favor. But the fight was far from over. The galaxy was not so easily swayed. And with every victory came the certainty of another battle. In this chapter, the tension between Admiral Alicia Thorne and Admiral Rook escalates, as the fate of humanity's inclusion in the Galactic Union hangs in the balance. The chapter highlights the ideological clash between unity and rebellion, and sets the stage for the ultimate decision that could shape the future of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. The echoes of the council chamber's hushed conversation rippled through the room as Alicia Thorne stood firm at the center. The decision was imminent, yet she could feel the weight of it pressing down on her. Every word, every hesitation from the council members now could shape the destiny of humanity's future in the galaxy. Ambassador Lyra's unexpected endorsement had shifted the room's energy, but there was still a significant road ahead. Rook's defiant stance had yet to be fully challenged. Humanity's place among the stars was still hanging in the balance, and as the murmurs died down, Alicia could see the cracks in the fragile unity the Council had worked so hard to build. The holographic map projected above the Council table flickered, offering a dim blue glow that illuminated the features of the delegates. Their faces, a mix of alien species with varied, complex expressions, stared back at her, each one carrying a different version of the truth. Some were curious, others skeptical, and a few, those who had long stood against humanity, bore the look of implacable judgment. It was clear to Alicia that the battle was far from over. Her eyes flicked to Rook, who stood by the back wall with his arms crossed, watching her with that all-too-familiar sneer. Despite the thin veneer of neutrality, she could see the fire in his eyes, the same fire that had driven him away from the Union and towards this rogue faction of humanity. He was determined to make the galaxy fear humanity's independence, not embrace it. But Alicia had a different vision. Her thoughts churned with the weight of her duty. The decision was not just about humanity's survival. It was about redefining what it meant to be human in a galaxy filled with vastly more advanced species. "Supreme Chancellor Thaler," Alicia called out, her voice steady despite the rising pressure. "We've heard from the dissenters, and we've heard from those who seek cooperation. But now it's time for the decision. Humanity's future cannot wait." The Krantar leader's many eyes blinked slowly, his imposing form towering over the rest of the chamber. His deep voice resonated as he leaned forward, clasping his four hands on the council table. "The decision is not simple, Admiral. You claim humanity is ready for unity, but you forget that the galaxy has been at peace for millennia. There is a balance here, a delicate order that you threaten to disrupt. Alicia inhaled deeply, not backing down from the challenge. We do not seek to disrupt the peace, Chancellor, she replied, her tone unwavering. We seek to contribute to it. Humanity has fought its own wars, faced its own demons, and we've learned. We are not asking for permission to dominate, we're asking for the opportunity to stand alongside you, as equals. But you are asking for more than that. A voice cut in. It was General Volker, the reptilian Tralla leader, his harsh, guttural voice scraping through the tension in the room. You are asking us to trust a species with a history of violence, a species that has barely left its own solar system. You ask us to give you a place among us, yet you come with little more than your promises. Volker's words landed with the weight of a boulder, and the room grew heavier with the scrutiny of his gaze. Alicia felt the room hold its breath, and she knew that the next words she spoke had to be measured, precise, and strong enough to sway the tide. General Volker, Alicia said, meeting his gaze directly. We have earned our place among the stars. We have fought against ourselves, faced division, and emerged stronger. What you see as violence, I see as the struggle for something greater. Humanity is not perfect, but neither are you. Your empire has stretched across the stars, yet you remain stagnant, afraid of what new life might look like. The Union is not a place for domination. It is a place for growth. There was a beat of silence. The Florixians, who had remained silent thus far, now flickered their light pulses in unison. Zirith, their ambassador, rose from his seat. The Florixian's translucent form was ethereal, yet the weight of his presence was undeniable. Admiral Thorne speaks the truth, Zirith said, his voice calm but forceful. The galaxy has expanded, and in that expansion, so too must the Union. We cannot remain in isolation, bound by the fear of change. Humanity has shown that it can adapt. It can learn. It is the kind of species the Union needs. Alicia exhaled quietly, sensing the shift in the room. But just as quickly as she gained ground, the debate flared again. Ambassador Rook, who had remained silent for the moment, spoke up, his voice sharp and full of contempt. What about freedom, Alicia? He took a step forward, his boots echoing in the stillness. You speak of growth and unity, but you forget that there is more than one way to grow. You want humanity to bend to your so-called union, but you are ignoring the cost of that submission. You have no idea what true freedom is. Rook's words, though biting, held a truth that many of the human delegates understood. There was a faction of humanity that had always opposed submission to a greater force, seeing it as an erasure of their identity. Alicia felt the weight of their beliefs pulling at her resolve, but she could not let it sway her. Not now. Rook, you know as well as I do, Alicia countered, her voice unwavering, that humanity cannot survive alone forever. Freedom is not about isolation. It's about choice. We have the choice to join the Union and protect our future, or we have the choice to be left behind. But that freedom comes with responsibility. You forget that. You forget what it means to protect something larger than yourself. The words hung in the air. The room was alive with energy, the debate swirling and twisting as the delegates wrestled with their fears and their desires. It was clear that the decision was not one that could be rushed. Time, however, was running out. Finally, Supreme Chancellor Thaler stood, his voice cutting through the chaos. Enough, he said, the authority in his tone silencing the room. The decision has been made. Humanity will be given the chance to join the Union, not as equals, but as probationary members. You will prove yourselves. If you succeed, you will be welcomed. If you fail, you will be cast aside. The chamber held its breath, and Alicia felt the weight of the decision pressing on her chest. This was not the victory she had hoped for, but it was a victory nonetheless. Humanity would have its chance. As the council members began to file out of the room, Rook lingered, his eyes locked onto Alicia's. There was no malice in his gaze, just the cold certainty of a man who knew his path and had chosen it. I hope you're right, Rook said quietly, his voice low. I hope humanity doesn't lose itself in the process. Alicia met his gaze, her resolve firm. I'll make sure of it. In this chapter, Alicia Thorne faces off with her adversaries in the Galactic Council as the fate of humanity hangs in the balance. The story delves into the complexities of human freedom versus the union of galactic cooperation, exploring themes of trust, independence, and sacrifice as humanity is granted a provisional place in the galaxy's future. The air was thick with anticipation as the doors to the command center slid open. Alicia Thorne, now an official representative of humanity in the Galactic Union, stepped into the stark, high-tech room. The lights hummed softly above her, and the endless expanse of stars was visible through the transparent walls. Earth, now a distant blue dot in the vastness of space, appeared far smaller than she remembered. It was a humbling sight. Alicia glanced around, seeing her team already gathered around a central table, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the holographic displays. They had just received the Council's decision, and though the verdict was not what she had hoped for, it was a start. Humanity was now officially a probationary member of the Union, a foot in the door, but nothing more. The Council had given them a chance, but the real test was yet to come. Admiral Thorne, said Lieutenant Draven, her second-in-command, a tall, sharp-eyed officer with a calm demeanor that contrasted with the storm of thoughts brewing inside Alicia. We've got the Council's decision. What now? The room fell silent, the weight of the question hanging in the air. Alicia knew what they were all thinking. She had led humanity this far, but the real struggle had only just begun. A probationary period meant scrutiny, it meant proving themselves to the galaxy that had long looked down upon them. And worse still, it meant they had to convince even their own people that this path was the right one. No, Alicia said, her voice steady but tinged with determination. We prove ourselves. The Council may have given us a chance, but it's up to us to earn it. We'll need to show them that humanity is not only capable of surviving in this galaxy but that we can thrive in it, on our own terms. There was a moment of quiet understanding among the team. Everyone in the room knew the stakes. They weren't just defending Earth anymore, they were defending the right of humanity to exist as equals among the stars. Commander Asha, a veteran strategist with a sharp mind and a no-nonsense attitude, spoke up. What exactly do we need to do, Admiral? The Council's conditions are vague at best. They've given us a chance to prove ourselves, but they haven't defined the terms. What's our first move? Alicia nodded. Asha was right. The Council had set no clear guidelines, just a simple ultimatum, succeed or fail. She had expected this. The galaxy was not kind, especially to a species as young as humanity, and if they wanted to make a place for themselves, they would have to show that they could contribute to something larger. The first thing we need to do, Alicia said, is figure out what they expect from us. We'll initiate contact with the Florixians and Traller. They are both key players in the Union, and their influence could make or break our position. I'll personally lead the talks. Her voice held a note of finality, but she knew that their biggest challenge wouldn't be negotiating with other species. It would be convincing the people of Earth themselves. There were many back home who didn't understand why they needed to be part of this vast, complex political web. They had fought so hard for independence, for freedom, and now they were being asked to yield a part of that freedom to a greater cause. Humanity's growth had always been marked by a constant struggle for autonomy. To submit to the Union was a bitter pill for many to swallow. Draven looked at her, his face tight with concern. And what about Rook? You know he won't take this lying down. His faction is still out there, and they will make sure humanity knows that we've given up something precious in order to join the Union. Alicia's jaw clenched at the mention of Rook. She had hoped that his departure from the human delegation would mark the end of his divisive influence, but she had been wrong. Rook represented a growing disillusionment within the human factions, a desire to take the galaxy by force rather than earn their place in it. I'll deal with Rook, she said quietly, her voice filled with determination. He may think we've betrayed humanity's spirit, but he's wrong. This isn't about submission, it's about survival. And survival means adaptation. We can't afford to stand alone anymore. The silence that followed her words was heavy with unspoken understanding. There were no easy answers. Humanity's future, in the hands of the Council, could either be a legacy of peace or one of conflict. But Alicia knew that she had to see it through. The path forward was one of unity, collaboration, and sacrifice. "Admiral," Commander Asha said, breaking the silence, "what's our next move after that? We can't keep waiting for the Council's approval. We need a plan, a real plan, to prove we belong here." Alicia paused, taking a deep breath. She looked out at the stars beyond the command center. The galaxy, vast and full of potential, stretched before her. She wasn't sure what the next few months would hold, but she knew that humanity had been given a rare opportunity, one that could change everything. "We'll focus on a mission that directly supports the Union's goals," she said. "We'll send a fleet to a contested system in the Galaxar Belt, a region where multiple species are vying for control over a resource-rich asteroid field. Our task will be to mediate and help de-escalate tensions. We need to show the Council that we are capable of more than just surviving. We can contribute to galactic peace." "How do we handle Rook's faction in the meantime?" Draven asked. Alicia turned back to face her team. "Rook's group will be a challenge, but we can't let them distract us. I'll send a message to the civilian sectors. Humanity needs to see the bigger picture. We're not giving up our identity, we're expanding it. We'll be stronger for it." She felt the weight of her next words. "And I'll make sure Earth knows that, too." Later that night, as the stars outside the command center glistened like scattered diamonds, Alicia found herself alone in her quarters. She stood in front of the holographic display of Earth, her mind racing with the enormity of the decision ahead. The path forward was uncertain, fraught with peril, and lined with those who would seek to tear down what she had fought to build. But in that moment, she knew something else, too. Humanity had always thrived in the face of adversity. It was the struggle itself that had forged their resilience, and it would be that same resilience that would see them through this challenge. With a soft sigh, Alicia turned away from the holographic display and made her way to the communication station. She had a message to send, not to the Council, not to the factions, but to Earth itself. The future was coming, and humanity would meet it head-on. "To Earth, to the people who will carry us forward, we will not falter. This is just the beginning. We will rise together." In this chapter, Alicia Thorne faces the complexities of humanity's first steps as a member of the Galactic Union. The stakes are high, and the weight of her leadership is felt as she prepares to prove humanity's worth. The struggle for unity, both within the galaxy and among her own people, becomes more urgent as Alicia sets her sights on a mission that could either solidify their place in the galaxy or tear them apart.